Greetings, everyone. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of D.C. I just presented with my team a piece of legislation addressing affordable housing preservation and production in the district. Any questions? Yes.
Off-topic question, of course. So with today being the snow day, I just wanted to gather your thoughts about D.C. government leave policy. My understanding is that the majority of our students are at home today, right?
D.C. Public Schools is closed.
All right, so for parents with D.C. public school students who are at home, what options do they have, as far as their leave? Just given the fact that their kids are at home, but they're obligated to be here in person.
Well, they can use their leave if they need to be at home.
But with the snow days coming, of course, what other options is your administration looking at to, maybe even like inclement weather related leave that can be with sick leave and other types of leave?
Let me just say this, and I'm proud to say this, that D.C. government employees have access to ample leave. Yeah.
Okay, so another executive order question. The Trump administration is reportedly working on an order that would allow for them to ask prosecutors or require prosecutors to seek tougher penalties locally in the city, and also it would order that homeless encampments be cleared out and graffiti be scrubbed. Just wondering to what extent your administration is currently in touch with the White House about this.
Well, I don't know where you're getting that information because we haven't seen an executive order. So I am hard-pressed to comment on any specifics other than I know that the president is very focused on beautification issues.
On the homeless encampment issue, would you support that if that was part of the executive order?
I would have to see what it says, but certainly we are a city that has shelter and has shelter for people who are on the streets, and we want them inside. Absolutely.
Mayor, going with that, the question that was just asked, obviously you met with the U.S. Attorney's Office ahead of time. I don't think that you've had a stance of being this soft on crime, and you've obviously met with them. What were part of those conversations ahead of the potential executive order that they're trying to paint D.C. to be soft on crime, and that's why we saw the rise in 2023?
Well, we worked very hard, and again, having not seen any, and I don't think you have either, so I'm not sure like what you're talking about other than hearing a rumor that we've all heard. So I can only react to what I've seen or heard about concerns about crime, which we all have. I don't think anybody's more concerned about us having a safe DC than I am. And we spent a lot of time resetting our ecosystem, making sure we can hire great officers and making sure that they can do their jobs, and making sure that all parts of the ecosystem, including policymakers and prosecutors and crime lab, have what they need to keep DC safe. So while we are certainly encouraged by the drop that we saw last year, we can't take our foot off the gas, and we want to continue to drive down crime. Now, there are parts of the system that the federal government has more control over or control entirely over, and that's the prosecution of adults. And so anytime I talk to anyone in the federal government, I ask them to focus on gun crimes, on gun offenders, people who use guns, felons in possession of a gun, and to make sure that there is consistent prosecution for gun crimes in the district, because I think that makes a huge difference. The other part are judges. Even in the issue where we just talked about, on civil matters as well as criminal matters are bogged down in our courts, and we have to make sure that vacancies are filled and filled timely. Yes.
Marielle with DC News Now. Just wondering where your head's at, or if there's any concern with the slashing of some of these federal jobs, just given how many federal workers live here in DC, just how that affects our economy, people that live here, their ability to pay their rent, to pay their bills. Where's your head at seeing all of that?
Well, certainly I'm concerned for anyone who has sudden job loss or what may be illegal, like separation from their agency. So I think we're following all of the litigation that's related to that. And we know that we will have DC residents who are impacted, and I think there are going to be people impacted in Maryland and Virginia, maybe more. Yes.
Mayor, I wanted to ask about the sort of federal funding freeze, federal payments. I know it's been really confusing, at least for me, to follow what's actually been going on with that. And I know that there's been legal intervention and everything, but I'm wondering, as you've taken stock across DC government, have any federally funded DC government programs been affected by that freeze? Are they continuing to be affected, and how much money are we talking about, and across which agencies?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I don't want to fully rely on my memory, so there may be something that we get back to you on. But I think at this point, there have been no federal funds stopped that we would be expecting, and there may have been interruptions, I guess last week or the week before that, but I don't believe, as I stand here, that there have been any federal funds that we get reimbursed or something like that. Specifically, people have asked us a lot about Medicaid, and we don't think that has been interrupted. There are programs, I think Mark asked me about this last week, in the Department of the Environment that are implicated by one of the executive orders, which we have stopped expending right now any dollars on those because we don't believe they will be reimbursed. Yes.
I guess, Mayor, a quick off-topic question regarding World Pride.
Yep.
Planes. We understand from information that you or the city presented to the city council that the city has retained an event planning company called Linder Global Events to work with, I guess, the Capital Pride Alliance and the city to help organize these multiple events with maybe as many as 2 million people coming into the city for this event. Was there some are speculating that it may have been some problems or concerns that the organizing wasn't going fast enough to meet all of the demands that will happen when the events begin May 17th?
Oh, no. If you're asking if that's why we want event consultants, no, this is a big worldwide event. They have event consultants, and we want to be able to support it so that on the world stage, we're shining.
So, in other words, the retaining of this company was not due to some problems that you saw?
No, not at all.
And that they're just helping to organize?
Yes. I'm not saying more because I don't know the full scope of their work, but I do know that I told the team to make sure that we had the best of the best on board. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, if I could get back to the possibility of an executive order coming out this week that would impact public safety, the national monuments, and homelessness. Has the White House conveyed anything to you about their intent? I know you have not seen, none of us have seen an actual executive order, but have you or your staff been briefed by the White House on the possibility of what might be in that?
I would say this, Mark, that we haven't seen it, and we have had a briefing that I would call at the 30,000-foot level, and I'm not sure if it was complete. So that's why I have asked to see anything that they would move related to the district, and they have committed to working through it with us, to telling us what the intent is.
It's not a rumor. It's fact. Your staff, I mean, you characterize it as a rumor.
No, I
before.
characterize what people are talking about in it as a rumor.
That is
I can't tell
factual.
you anything.
So what will you do? I mean, if we compartmentalize, we look at homelessness. There has long been a divide between federal property and DC property. We look no further than underneath the Whitehorse Freeway, where there's fencing up around DC property to keep homeless out and not federal property. What will happen if the president signs an executive order mandating the removal of homeless encampments? If it specifies only federal land, would you participate in that? If it goes farther than that and says all of DC, I mean, have the conversations gone that far down?
No. And this is what I would say, Mark. We have our own protocols to remove homeless encampments. They're not technically permitted in the district. But we believe we try to work with our residents to get them to a place where they want to come inside. And that's always been our strategy. We've also always worked with the federal government. Now, sometimes their policies have differed from ours. And they have not moved in the same way that we have. But even when they do address the federal parks, for example, they always work with us because it's also their intent to have people move inside.
So is your understanding that they will continue to work with you on those types of issues, work with the city on those types of issues?
That would certainly be my the ask that we make, because we want. I don't know that they really have the resources to get people to move inside. We have shelter and we have shelter space, and we want people to use it.
Increasing penalties for some crimes, whether they be gun crimes or urinating in public, are these things that you think are enhancements to penalties that you would support?
I haven't seen anything like that, Mark, so I can't talk about that. But what I do focus on is our police department's ability to deploy in a way that addresses violent crime. And they have to be able to do that. Those are the types of resources that we allow. Now, obviously, we're focused on quality of life issues as well. That's why last year we instituted the ability, and the council approved drug-free zones, which are addressing a lot of the type of behavior, this quality of life behavior that our residents have complained about and make them feel unsafe. And so we think the implementation of the drug-free zones has been a good tool that is supported by data that MPD has to address quality of life concerns.
If I could you comment on the president's moves regarding the Kennedy Center? Do you have concerns of him taking over the Kennedy Center and impacting what programming could go on there?
Let me say this about the Kennedy Center. The mayor of the district is a member of the board, ex officio member of the board, as is the chancellor of public schools. In the last year, I have made it a point to personally attend the board meetings, and I just think the Kennedy Center operates at a very high level, and it attracts world-class programming and for all ages, which I think is important, and I think their vision for the reach has really improved the experience at the Kennedy Center and brought local Washington to experience the Kennedy Center even more. So I think it would be, and I think now on top of it, David Rubenstein has been an amazing chair, both from his philanthropic commitments in bringing us the reach, but also his incredible management. So I think whatever transitions there are at the Kennedy Center, it has to be like to replace the type of talent that has been there. It has to be at a very high level.
Are you still a board member? Have you received any notification one way or another?
I'm a board member by law, so the law would have to change for the district not to be on the board.
So you have not received any notification from the White House to the contrary?
Well, the law, like I said, the law would have to change. No, I haven't.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Mayor, any updates regarding the return to in-person working for federal workers? I know obviously we've had like snow days and stuff like that, but you've been pushing for this. Any updates that we can provide of changes that we've seen in the city?
There isn't, and I will ask if the White House can provide like a tracker. And I know that Metro has reported some ridership data. Some data has reported, I think, they have sent out from swipes, but I haven't received like a comprehensive report. Yes.
Two more questions. One for Deputy Mayor Albert, and one for first for Deputy Mayor Albert. As far as RFK campus, how far along are we in solidifying the plans? And as far as a developer, are you looking at somebody to take over the entire project and map it out that way, or are we going to do a piecemeal?
Well, we're just still working on that. We don't have a complete strategy yet, so we'll answer those questions at another time.
And as far as the financing of a football stadium, is that something that's going to be on the D.C. taxpayers, or are we looking for private funding?
We have a number of models, as I've said many, many times, including in the city, of different ways that we have built our stadiums, and we're looking at all of them.
And last question, the Commission on Poverty, my understanding is that right now there are only 2 ward level members, one for Ward 5 and Ward 8. What is the timeline on filling that up so that the Commission can get its work done in terms of compiling recommendations for you and the council?
I'll have to get back to you on that. Okay.
Snow days.
Yes. I think I know where this is going, and hopefully they won't be in school till the 4th of July.
Right. Well, that's my question. Right now, if nothing is done, it would have extended from Tuesday, June 17th to Monday, June 23rd, with today being no school. I'm wondering if you or the Chancellor have plans to ask for a waiver for any of those days to move it back closer to the original June 17th.
I don't know about that, Mark. I don't know about that, because that would be a lot of days of mislearning. So the Chancellor will have to get back to me on how or what we know. The Chancellor or the Superintendent. Actually, I think the Superintendent has to tell us what we need to do about the number of school days that have to be made.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.